Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and welcome back to the TvZ ProCast Edition, Take 2, because I messed up Take 1 so bad, after about 30 seconds of gameplay, I just stopped it. On the right-hand side here of Antigua Shipyard, we are going to be having one of the many stars from LGIM. It is going to be MVP as a red Terran player who is somebody that we have not heard from very much in quite a long time. So I am very excited to see him back into the swing of things, and I will talk a little bit more about him in just a second. Over on the other side of the map, spawning on the lower left-hand position, he is going to be our blue Zerg hero. It is going to be roxkisSlivko, and he himself is quite a good Zerg player. I think he's from the same general area as White Raw. I think he's like a Russian or Ukraine player. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually know for certain, but I believe he is, and I've actually casted him in the past. He is a pretty darn good Zerg player. Maybe a little bit underground. He's not, you know, on the international, I should say. He's not really on the international level of play. But he's obviously got to be fairly freaking good, because this is going to be the IEM towards the end. I don't know exactly where in the tournament, but it is somewhat towards the end of the tournament, and this is a best of 5 series between these two players. I'm so excited. Oh, I even have my shoes off and everything now, so I can just relax and enjoy this game, as it is bound to be a great one. MVP actually going to go ahead and just open up command center first, because he's a boss like that, and he can pretty much defend anything Slivko has to throw at him, which at this point in time is nothing, because Slivko also went hatch then pool. So pretty much the same opening out of both these players. TvZ has been I wouldn't really say evolving. TvZ has always kind of been in this awkward state where the Terran player will do Marine Tank, and then it'll kind of go to Marine Medevac Marauder, and then it'll go to Mech, and then back to Marine Tank, and then it kind of does these little cycles. And right now, the big cycle is that Mech play, which I'll be honest, has always been my favorite. And MVP, I haven't seen MVP's mech play yet, but if you remember back from when he was super good and pretty much winning quite literally just everything, he was doing a lot of bio play. And I mean, there was nothing insane about his bio play. You know, it was nothing out of the ordinary. It was just bio play. But he was so slow and methodical about the way he did things that he just crushed everybody with it. And that's why I'm really excited and hoping that MVP does do some sort of mech play. I know Day 9 has actually been talking quite a bit about MVP's mech play. I'm really excited to see how exactly MVP executes it, because MVP, if we know anything about him, this mech play will be perfected out of him. It will be absolutely great. Zerglings are running around the map right now, getting a little bit of map control, just seeing what's going on. This Zergling, he doesn't know it yet, but he's in for quite a little surprise here. A couple of Marines sitting up on top of that ramp. Will the Zergling live? And, nope, he's just going to get decimated. Looks like we are going to be having a Reactor Hellion opening coming out of MVP. Perfectly normal over on this side of the map. Slivko on the other side, going to be expanding into a third base fairly quickly. You'll see actually a lot of Zerg players in TvZ will actually wait just a little bit longer to go ahead and get this third base out. This isn't anything, once again, this isn't, you know, like some crazy revelation, but, you know, it is a somewhat faster. MVP, if he was doing some sort of timing attack, would be able to punish that a little bit, but the Overlord was in the base. Kind of saw that there was, you know, only so many production buildings out of MVP. So, I think Slivko feels fairly confident to go ahead and drop that third base earlier on. Tech labs are on 2 of the barracks, as well as a reactor on 1. Stim pack now starting up. Combat shields probably going to be starting up as soon as this other tech lab is finished. Pushing out across the map with a couple of Hellions, not Blue Flame, of course. It is way too early for that. Going to scout this third base, and really not to be able to do too much damage, as there was only a single drone, which is actually salvaged into an extractor. Spine crawler on the way, but if we know anything, it would take absolutely forever for these Hellions to kill anything that's a building or pretty much not a drone. This is one great advantage of doing Let me try that again. This is one slight disadvantage, that's what I was going for, of going for this fast third base, is you don't quite have all the queen energy you might want quite yet to go ahead and connect the creep between these two bases. It forces you to go ahead and get extra queens, which a lot of Zerg players are getting anyways, just to help deal with these Hellions. But it forces you to get those a little bit earlier on. You can't really wait because you have to get this creep spread between the two bases. Otherwise, you will just pretty much lose one base outright. One queen might be going down here. Hellion's trying to chase her down, but no, she gets away with 22 health remaining. Do manage to fry a few Zerglings. But Zerglings, yeah, I mean, it's almost expected to lose those Zerglings. They were mainly there, actually, to help that queen, I would say, more than anything else. Hellions are going to continue to push up and up and up, but not get really anywhere, not even really denying the creep all that much. And now that roaches are out on the map, that's pretty much going to be the end of this Hellion aggression, as there's going to not be all that much that they can do. Did have a little bit of a pause there. Not a big deal, especially for us viewers who are watching the VOD here, because we don't have to put up with pauses, and that's one great advantage. I love the fact that Slivko actually is getting a spore crawlers, at least in one base, in that outlying base there. You don't really need one in this middle base, as there's really no way for a Banshee or a Medevac to get in there, except through this, you know, like straight down the middle, or going through the main or the third base. So you don't really need a spore crawler in your natural expansion. Looks like Slivko actually might be in a little bit of trouble here, as there's a big push coming out for MVP. This is going to be that Hellion Marauder mixture here that is ever so popular, with a few Marines mixed in just because he can. Did not pull a ton of SCVs, however, so I wouldn't necessarily say that this is an all-in coming out of MVP. He will be able to recover from this if he does not kill off his opponent, which it does not look like he is going to. Slivko just has so many queens, actually. I mean, he has 5 queens helping defend right now, as well as a few roaches, and these marauders, I mean, they're going to be great against the roaches, and I guess in general great against everything, especially with that concussive shell not finishing up. But I don't know if he's going to quite have enough. It doesn't have the supply to really be able to push this, especially with any sort of remacking force coming out of Slivko. We do have roaches and Zerglings popping out, and now give me just a moment here. Ugh. There we go. My ear, the ear beneath my speaker was just itching like a mofo during that battle. I couldn't stand it. I needed to get that taken care of before I continued on with the game. Do have a couple of more barracks being laid down here, so it does not look like we're going for any sort of mech play. A third base is going to need to be established fairly shortly. There's the command center for that. As soon as that gets morphed into an orbital command, I would assume that's going to lift off and get landed over here, as there are plenty of SCVs on the map. We don't really need to do double command center triple command center SCVs off of 2 base. That would just kind of be pointless. We do have an armory on the way now, probably to get those +2 upgrades for his ground army. MVP going to be in a decent-ish position. We have a couple of Hellions at the watchtower going to be taken out. Slivko, on the other hand, is going to be in an excellent position. Has his infestation pit on the field now. Has banelings on the field. Does have centrifugal hooks, which is that baneling speed, pathogen glands, level 2, armor, and melee attacks. He's just getting a little bit of everything, even expanding to this 4th base out in the middle of the map here. This is going to be somewhat difficult for him to hold, however, as MVP is going for that siege tech, and if there's anything we know, Zerg players have a lot of troubles holding off this 4th base with siege tanks up on the high ground. It's going to be imperative for Slivko to be able to hold the Zelnog watchtower, because if he loses control of this watchtower, he will lose control of his base here. And I love the fact that he's now adding on a spire, because those mutilars are going to be a great help in defending against those siege tanks once they do really start coming in mass onto the field. MVP now taking his 3rd base. Didn't actually even go for an orbital command on that quite yet. I'd expect that to go down fairly shortly here. A lot of Zerglings spawning out on the map for Slivko. I'd expect at least a decent number of those to be turned into banelings, as there are only 3 on the field right now, and that's not going to be... Oh, where am I missing them? Oh, I guess they're just kind of hidden around in this army. There we go. Different angle does help reveal those banelings for us. Both players are deciding to play a little bit passively right now. Slivko getting near to that max point. Will be interesting to see what he does when he does reach that spot. There is a medevac drop up onto this cliff here, and actually the units up here can't really see up onto this high ground. The medevac was not in a close enough position to be able to pick off that queen, so that drop really not doing anything. I don't exactly know what the point of that was. We do have another drop coming in from MVP over here. And again, not really doing anything. Did manage to pick off a couple of overlords, I suppose. And that's about it, actually. Looks like this drop is going to be coming back into the main base here, but it's not going to be... Oh, actually going for the natural. Might not get there, though, as the Spore Crawler is in its way. Just needs 2 shots. Oh, my goodness, manages to get by. That medevac is so low on health. Just a couple of queen shots, though. Why aren't the queens moving to defend that? All the units are going to get out of that, but the medevac will fall. No healing for these units. And with the banelings there, and with the roaches there, they are going to get mopped up immediately. But in the meantime, MVP is going to be taking the center of the map. Now Slivko has lost control of that Zelnaga watchtower. And as I said, when you lose control of that watchtower, you lose control of the 4th base. And that's what we are seeing here. MVP able to take the high ground here. Slivko desperately trying to take that back. I don't know if it's going to get there in time. No, that hatchery does fall. Zerglings are going to be swarming up onto these tanks. However, is there going to be enough firepower, though? Nobody can really control this watchtower for the moment. Tanks are going to be able to fire in there. The roaches are getting cleaned up by what is left of the bio army here, but it's going to be close. Both players very even. It looks like MVP going to come out just ever so slightly ahead in that engagement and is going to control the middle of the map for the moment. And Slivko is now back down to 3 bases. This is why a lot of Zerg players opt not to take this this 4th base here, as it can be very, very difficult to hold. A lot of drones actually not mining right now. A lot of gas just kind of sitting around that could be getting utilized right now. I mean, if you want to consider that, that's, 45 gas that could go into the bank, which could be used fairly quickly. Broodlords now coming onto the map to help against these siege tanks. No Vikings. Oh, there we go. Vikings actually just now coming onto the field. 2 out right now. More being spawned at these double reactors, or multiple, I guess just multiple starports. So that's going to help against those Broodlords. However, the Corruptor number is going to be a very, very important here for Slivko. I don't know why I said however. That actually did not make sense. The Corruptor number is going to be very important for Slivko to make sure that he can pick off those Vikings before they can pick off the Broodlords. But let's face it, if the Broodlords can decimate the ground army before the Vikings can kill them, well, they've kind of done their work, because you can lose those Broodlords, remax on Zerglings and Roaches, and just do a second push in about 30 seconds. And now it looks like it's MVP's turn to try to take the middle of the map here. But Slivko, with these Broodlords, can pretty much do the same exact thing to MVP that MVP did to Slivko, and just besiege this base. It's going to be difficult for him to hold. I'm actually surprised to see MVP go ahead and try to take this even after the scan on the middle of the map there. Looks like there is going to be a double medevac drop coming into the 3rd base now. I don't know how much damage that's going to do, but the entire army of Slivko is out of position right now to deal with that. A lot of Zerglings being pulled back to be able to take that out, but great positioning by MVP is going to allow him to clean up almost all of those Zerglings. In fact, those Marines might just win that engagement. MVP trying to once again push into the middle of the map here to take out this 4th base. Some Fungaroos going down on top of that army. Great Fungaroos just annihilating the Marine count there. In the meanwhile, the 3rd base is now defended, and the rest of the units are coming back to the middle of the map to help with this engagement. Big engagement. Broodlords going to be able to take out what is left of this ground army. However, no Vikings over here to help defend against that. MVP's army cleaned up. Slivko now controls the middle of the map, but Vikings now coming onto the field. Where are the Corruptors? They're going to turn around and try to engage those Vikings. Not going to quite be able to get them. There are quite a few Vikings. More Corruptors going to be required on this map to really deal with this. I heard a Marine shooting somewhere. It looks like this medevac somehow surviving from over here, I'm assuming. Managed to get straight through that entire mess. And MVP is going to need to just kind of sit back and remacro his army for a little bit. He can't really push this nice composition out of Slivko. Slivko, on the other hand, also needs to remacro his army. Is very, very low on Zerglings. Going to want to remacro some of those and get some Banelings back out on the map. It looks like a 5th base is going to go down here to another medevac drop. Oh, yeah, okay, yep, definitely going to go down there. That's going to get cleaned up fairly quickly. And what is over here? This is an SCV. I've been watching this little dot on the map for like 5 minutes now, waiting for a drop to happen, but that is just an SCV down there. I guess I could have checked that quite a bit sooner. Going to be dropping back off into the main base. Going to probably be able to kill an Overlord off, but not much more. There are Banelings here to defend. Just 2 Banelings and a couple of Roaches, I guess, is all you really need to defend a single medevac drop. In fact, that would even do decently against a double medevac drop, all things considered. Both players just kind of sitting back and biding their time. It looks like neither player really wants to be the first one to make that big move out across the map. 2-2 is on the field for the ground bio, and 0-1 for both the air and the mech for MVP. I don't know, I just lost my words there. Broodlords are now going to be assaulting this base. Quite a few Vikings on the field. However, a lot of Corruptors to be able to counter that. Fungrowth's going down on top of the Vikings. Vikings not going to be able to pick off these Corruptors nearly fast enough. And now the Broodlord's going to reign supreme over that planetary fortress. Banelings rolling in. Absolutely no micro on the Marines. And the Banelings decimate that Marine count. That fourth base is down, and Slivko takes a huge advantage in this game. 181 to 146 supply, and I don't know if MVP is going to be able to come back from that devastating loss. He's quite a few harvesters down at this point, and once again, only on 2 mining bases. Tanks and Marines just desperately trying to fall back at this point, and now we're seeing that remax from Slivko. 52 Zerglings coming out onto the map, probably going to be rallied into the center, morph into a few Banelings, and then go in, I would assume, for a final push there. He could actually potentially just starve his opponent out as well. MVP just has mostly a somewhat full base. I mean, this is starting to get mined out as well, actually. A lot of these patches down to about 170 minerals. That is what mules will do. And this natural expansion almost out of minerals as well. MVP just cannot hold the base. He needs to try to make something happen, but I don't think retaking this base here is what he needs to do. He does have a double medevac drop coming down into the third base right now of Slivko. However, this base was almost out, might not be the highest priority base to be able to take out Corruptor, and a couple of Zerglings going to be spawning out here, and those will get away just fine. Going to be target firing this hatchery. Might lose a medevac. No, just does manage to hold on to that. MVP trying to assault the main base, the fourth base as well in the middle of the map, but there are so many Broodlords, so many Corruptors, and the Infestors not to mention there. That is not going to do anything. MVP's army going to be cleaned up there. In the meantime, MVP going to be trying to move into the natural expansion there. A Fungrowth does go down on top of those Marines, does need one more to be able to finish that off, but Zerglings coming instead to try to help with that, and that's going to be enough. It looks like Corruptors coming in as well. That army is dead. MVP down to 115 supply. Desperately just trying to do whatever he can, desperately trying to get any income he can here, and I just don't see it being enough. He just does not have the bases he needs to be able to really take out Slivko. Cannot remacro his army nearly fast enough. There's the GG from MVP, and game number 1 in this best of 5 series is going to go ahead and go to Slivko. Slivko putting on an excellent show there, taking out MVP, which even in MVP's somewhat of a slump, he's coming back lately, but even in a slight slump, that is a massive feat for Slivko, just showing how great of a Zerg player he is. Really just had, I mean, let's just face it, the perfect army composition. It was beautiful. Zerglings, Banelings, Infestor, Corruptor, Broodlord. There's not much more you can ask for against this Marine, this kind of this bio and siege tank play. That was absolutely beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and go on to game number 2 in this best of 5 series. If you liked what you saw here, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, and I'm going to waste no more time. So until next time, folks, this is Coffee Break, signing out.